Hello, everyone. Welcome back to yet another political episode. So, we got big news. Tomorrow is election day in Wisconsin. Now, don't get too excited. We will not. This is a primary election. It's not a general election. So, but it's important. It's an important primary election because, although we have a lot of we have three major elections in 2025. Virginia, New Jersey, and Wisconsin. Wisconsin, unlike New Jersey and Virginia, will be decided in a month. In fact, that election for the Supreme Court and the Superintendent of Public Instruction is going to be on April 1st. And it's tomorrow that Wisconsinites head to the polls and they vote in a nonpartisan primary. In general, would be a general election type race. There will be no party primaries, maybe in the district elections, because believe it or not, we'll also have some mini races in the state legislature, special elections, etc. So we will have, of course, the main races. That's going to be a big at-large nonpartisan primary in which voters will specifically be deciding the superintendent. Keep in mind, voters will not be deciding their nominee for the Supreme Court. There is no real nominee because specifically there is going to be a general election, not a primary election. That primary has been, of course, canceled because, as you can clearly see, you have the candidates on the board right now. Susan Crawford and Brad Schimmel. They are, of course, two judges that are racing each other to the Supreme Court on April 1st. Susan Crawford is the liberal, Brad Schimmel is the conservative. And obviously, if Ann Walsh Bradley stayed in this race, then we would have had a nonpartisan primary tomorrow. There will be, however, a nonpartisan primary for the superintendent race of public instruction. And that's really what voters are going out to vote for. Other than that, we'll get to that in a little bit. But yeah, when it comes to that race, primaries are the primary for that race is tomorrow. When it comes to that, the Supreme Court race has nothing to do with tomorrow's primaries. So if you're from Wisconsin, don't go to the polls expecting to see Brad Schimmel and Susan Collins. Not Collins. You're not from Maine. We're not in Maine, guys. Susan Crawford on your ballot. Do not expect that because they will not be on your ballot. Anyway, with that out of the way, it's important to note because I've already made many predictions. In fact, 8 hours ago, I posted my prediction on that race. Polls are saying that actually it's going to be a Schimmel win. I went into this all the way through thinking it was going to be a Crawford win. And to a point, I still think Susan Crawford is going to pull this thing through. And I'll explain why. But we just got a bombshell poll not that long ago that clearly shows that Brad Schimmel has a 5-point win, a 5-point lead against the liberal Susan Crawford. It's within the margin of error, although the sample size is around 800 people. So it's kind of interesting. We already got people and Republicans coming out and endorsing. You got state representatives, Scott Fitzgerald, Glenn Groffman. You got these people. Oh, Elon Musk is also funding. I forgot to notice that. Yeah, Elon Musk is even in his Department of Government Efficiency. He's sending lots of money into Schimmel's campaign. So that's something I was really concerned about. Elon Musk, you got to be grateful. The Republican Party has a future because of him. Because we had a hard time fundraising. Elon Musk, different story. He's very rich, and part of that is he can help fundraise for our Republican candidates. A lot of people didn't know about 2023. 2023, can we remember, was a disaster because, yeah, the Democrats under Janet, what's her name? She decided to mobilize the issue of abortion, and then again, that issue was a huge issue to take advantage on. And because the issue of abortion was such a big issue, it worked for Janet's advantage. She blew out Daniel Kelly in a landslide, 11 percentage points. That is insane. She did incredibly well in rural areas, like over here. She also got Rock County, Iowa County, Milwaukee County into the 60% column. La Crosse County is in 60%. Although Menominee County is down in 60%. It's not 80% anymore, but that's not going to change anything. No one lives in Menominee. But obviously, people came out at mass because abortion was on people's minds. Really, it wasn't. It was just liberals. Liberals had a reason to go out and vote. Conservatives, on the other hand, had zero reason to go out and vote. Daniel Kelly, no one really. People aren't going to go and jump up and down for him, so they stayed home. Then again, 800,000 people. 800,000 people. That's a lot. That's not that much. So let's see can things turn around this time? I don't know. Hopefully it will. But Brad Schimmel has a better chance and opportunity than what's his name? Daniel Kelly, who's extremely weak. Let's see how he performed in 2020. Yeah, not that different. I mean, not that different. 44%. This time the abortion issue is not an excuse. Daniel Kelly was just bad, okay? Against Jill Karofsky. Actually, Daniel Kelly was incumbent. He was kicked out in a landslide. So, yeah, Daniel Kelly, no offense, but he's not the best runner. If that makes sense. But, yeah, you can clearly see that's the case. But let's go to the 2025. It's a new era. It's a new day. This race is between Susan Crawford and Brad Schimmel. We are openly and outright supporting Brad Schimmel, who has a future. I mean, if we can get Brad Schimmel out and vote into the Supreme Court, I have a feeling that, of course, it's going to be a huge turn in the other direction. Brad Schimmel, he is the former Attorney General of Wisconsin. Let's see how he performed in elections. He performed okay. You'll see. Look at that. Waukesha County's at 70%. And now this is 2014. So, Brad Schimmel is a strong candidate, unlike Kelly. So I'm kind of curious to see how he does. But yes, you can clearly see, you have this county right here. But then again, the West was more liberal during the Obama era, right? The West, this county right here, I expect it to be more conservative. You can clearly see the WOW counties are in the 70% and the 6th. And Waukesha County, it's a WOW county, and he comes from a WOW county. WOW, meaning Waukesha, Ozaki, and Washington. So, obviously, Brad Schimmel, he has a chance of winning this. He comes from the Republican stronghold of Waukesha County, which is the third biggest county, 60% Republican. And Brad Schimmel has showed us that he can get it up to 70%. Yeah, it's 10 years later. 11 years, really. But Brad Schimmel is showing us that maybe his magic can still work. Let's see what he did in 2014. I want to see what his 2014... No, this is 2014. I want to see his 2018 performance. Oh, never mind. Schimmel was defeated by Josh Kahl. Is he still strong? Well, you'll see Waukesha is still in 60%. Ozaki is in 60%. Actually, I think this is Washington. I think this is Ozaki. But, obviously, yes, Ozaki County. But this is obviously good signs. I mean, it was a close race. And it could be like that again. Really, I think it was Kenosha that blew it for Brad Schimmel. But I think he could have done. Now he's running again in a nonpartisan race. People are going to recognize his name. He's the former attorney general. People might go out and vote for him because of that, compared to Susan Crawford, who comes from Dane County, Circuit Court, Branch 1. She might have the advantage because of that. I don't know. I mean, you're going against someone. Who is the one person of recognition? That's Brad Schimmel. He has the advantage on that. He has the advantage of coming from a very red Republican county, the WOW counties. The recipe for a Republican to win is the WOW counties right down here. Ozaki, Washington, Waukesha. So he has that advantage also. And really, the abortion issue has faded away into nothing. I mean, then again, if it was really an issue, then Democrats, Kamala Harris would have done way better in 2024. That really wasn't the case. So obviously, you've seen my prediction. This is my prediction. And it's a little too early. It's a month, but we can start wrapping down predictions, if you will. But I've clearly said polls are showing that conservatives have an edge in Wisconsin. Don't be complacent. Get out to vote if you are from Wisconsin, and make sure you vote tomorrow if you're from Wisconsin. But you can clearly see I have Mr. Schimmel. He's winning all these said counties. The real counties, he couldn't win his Rock. And yeah, I have it right here. This is where Douglas County is becoming more swing. It's just more swingier lately. It's becoming more purple. And if this is true, a 5-point win for Schimmel. Douglas County going to Crawford by 1.5%. Reason why Douglas is so blue, the college town of Superior, Wisconsin, influenced by the college, big college city of Duluth, Minnesota. A lot of the college UFM students live in Superior. Of course, Bayfield County's unionized. It's going to be more liberaler, 6.6%. Ashland County is occupied by community college, and it's also pretty unionized, so it's going to go for Crawford also, no doubt about it. I mean, some elections have showed that Republicans can win in Douglas. I mean, take a look at this. Daniel Kelly won Douglas County. But I think it's just because of poor turnout. And there wasn't really much. Maybe there was some split ticking, like Edward Fallon was taking votes from Jill Karofsky. And at the end of the day, Karofsky just blew Daniel Kelly out of the win in that said race. And also, do not think that the polls are always right. The previous elections told us polls are always right. No, they actually told us the opposite. Daniel Kelly defeating Karofsky in the general election by like 7 points. Did that happen? No. It was just one poll. One poll. So do not go and preach and carry around the poll. Let's see. Don't go around and carry the RMG research poll like it's a gospel. No, it's not. Obviously, you have 23% people are undecided. And really, the 23% of people are like, I really don't really care about this election, but we might not go out and vote. So it could be the case. But then again, I don't know if there's 23. Yeah, it's only 36-29. But obviously, a huge swing the other direction. Polls can be wrong. And, of course, you have the disadvantage of no specific party designation. You don't know which one is the conservative. You don't know which one's the liberal. Oh, shoot, I didn't do my research. So there's a chance where I'm just going to choose one. Well, that shows an impact. And it could be from different reasons. I'm just going to choose the man. I'm not saying that's sexist or what. Oh, I just don't know which one's the conservative. It's mostly likely the guy is the conservative, so I'm going to go and choose the conservative. But then again, you have races where you got women, like the Minnesota race, Kim Crockett, the Republican, versus low testosterone Steve Simon, the Secretary of State of Minnesota. So it could be the other way around. So, but you're just going to take the risk. I have a feeling that this might be the conservative. So that's the disadvantage here. You have people that you are lack of information on the views of each candidate. So obviously it starts to look like Georgia in 2024, where it looks so skewed. Like, let's see. Like, here, look at this map. I would describe this map to be like, take a look at this. When has Clayton County ever voted so hard for the Republican or the conservative in this point? And take a look at this county right here. I think we can move on from, ultimately, this is prediction. Clayton, 70% for Harris. Then you got Screven County. We're going for the liberal. Right down here. Screven County. Trump plus 18 in 2020. Clayton. Democrat plus 70. Going conservative. This is what happens when you have the combination of low turnout and the lack of information. You get a Georgia 2024 for the Supreme Court, which is hilarious. Ultimately, Republicans won this in a landslide. There's no doubt of reason how they didn't win. Of course, part of the reason was they won. They broke the blue blob. It's just Fulton County and DeKalb. I believe Fulton could have easily went to the conservative, but you get what I'm saying. So do not think, it's probably going to be because of yada yada yada. It's going to be because of I don't know what I'm saying, but the Brad Schimmel is going to carry this county and this county, and no, it's not going to work like that way. But I'm just saying, don't go in here thinking, it's going to be a red wave. I don't know what you would possibly say, but I'm just saying, go in prepared. Obviously, we have a month and 13 days, I want to think. But a little early, but guess what? It's going to come here just before you know it. But obviously, this conservatives, in order for them to win this seat, I've pushed them so hard. I'm saying, hey, look. Then again, it's nothing new. Conservatives have not an issue to run on. Democrats allegedly are running on abortion again. Susan Crawford. Abortion rights are being under attack, but then again, it's going to be different this time, guys. We're, let's see, 3 years, almost 4 years. Well, actually, going into 3 years of Dobbs v. Jackson ruling with the non-existence of Roe v. Wade. And Susan Crawford's trying to push this abortion. Wisconsin's going pro anti-abortion, blah, 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 blah. Well, guess what? The Wisconsin Supreme Court's filled with liberals, and that's what the argument Brad Schimmel needs to make. Hey, don't Minnesotanize Wisconsin. That's the title. Don't Minnesotanize Wisconsin. Because in Minnesota, all of the Supreme Court justices are libturds. Like, all of them. Every one of them. The liberals cry about the United States Supreme Court. You got 2 liberal Supreme Court justices. In Minnesota, we don't have 1 conservative justice. I think that's an understatement. I think we do have 1, but I don't know. He's probably a rhino. But I know our Supreme Court is weak, and we get these very woke laws. Don't Minnesotanize Wisconsin. Wisconsin has a privilege to have these elections where they get to vote every year, literally, for a Supreme Court justice. Every year. There's going to be an election in 2026. Every year they have a Supreme Court race. It seems like a privilege. Well, actually, I don't think... No, they didn't have one in 2024. Oh, you get what I'm saying? It's in Minnesota, we have one every 6 years. And really, only 2 seats are up into contest. Democracy in voting is very special in Wisconsin. While Minnesota, we don't get to vote on our Supreme Court justices. So, obviously, that could be turned around. Obviously, far-left woke policies can't be initiated in Wisconsin like it can in Minnesota, because Wisconsin is very polarized. Democrats in Wisconsin don't have a grip on Wisconsin yet, but they could, because they are building up a Supreme Court majority. Conservatives, Brad Schimmel, he needs to get out the vote and say, hey, look, this is what's going to happen. Liberals are going to have a Supreme Court majority, and we need to stop that. And after the Supreme Court, they're going after the legislature, which they probably do, and that they're trying to build a trifecta. They're trying to Minnesotanize Wisconsin. Do not let Wisconsin be next. Minnesota became a blue state in the exact same way what's happening right now in Wisconsin. First, they got a liberal Supreme Court justices, the Republicans, which I call Stassinists, that follow the ideals of Harold Stassen, very left-wing, progressive ideals, bend the knee to the DFL. And with liberal Republicans and very far-left DFL Democrats, combining that together, that made Minnesota a blue state. Well, good news. We have Republicans in Wisconsin that are going to stand up. I'm hoping Brad Schimmel is doing a good job standing up. We know he has the benefits of Elon Musk by his side, giving him money and support. And of course, you have more endorsements in a line right here. While going to 2023, let's see the endorsements in 2023 for Daniel Kelly. Okay, there was a couple. But you get what I'm saying here. Not that much. We have way more. Way more for Brad Schimmel. And the Elon Musk endorsement shows that the White House, the Trump administration, is aware that this is happening. While in 2023, we were distracted by primaries. We were distracted by Donald Trump running. I think Republicans, conservatives alike, we know that all this, the trifecta, Republican trifecta, can go away. That's what happened in 2016, 2017, 2018. We lost the House of Representatives by a lot. We held the Senate, thankfully. And we lost in 2019. We were very complacent during the Trump era. Now, thinking that we were going to get Trump in winning the election, that didn't happen. Part of the reason was we lost so many races. And we were so used to chillaxing. But by this next election, we were not training. Because, believe it or not, when we run in these elections, we fund these elections, we better our performances for the next election. So when the RNC puts money into this Supreme Court race, and the midterm races, the Virginia and New Jersey races, the race in Kentucky, or in Mississippi in 2027, it's going to better its performances in 2028. I would like to see that. But as of right now, this is the very first race of the second Trump administration. It's going to lead a string of wins, hopefully. This is my Supreme Court prediction. I can change over the course of time, of course. But I want to show my prediction for tomorrow's race, which we will be covering on Wednesday for the primary. Yes, you can clearly see. I do predict that the conservative, Mr. Wright, will win the primary. Why? Well, that's because Miss Kinzer, who is a liberal from Milwaukee County, is going to be taking votes from the incumbent Underly, Jill Underly, who is the incumbent superintendent of public instruction. Would she take majority of votes? No. Now, if Underly wasn't incumbent, I would believe that Kinzer would probably win her own county in Milwaukee. But because Underly is the incumbent superintendent, I think she's going to carry Milwaukee. But because Kinzer is going to be taking some points away from Underly, Wright's probably going to win more than 5 points. But I would be very surprised if he doesn't. And if he doesn't, then we're screwed for the superintendent race. I know Underly had a good performance in 2021, that Wisconsin Supreme Court superintendent race. And that it said, liberals tend to win this race. Why? Because public education and schools, it's, of course, benefits for Democrats, right? Democrats are the party of education. You'll see 57%. This is Jill Underly's performance. You'll see clearly she managed to win the primary by less than a point. Part of the reason was, I'm not sure where Mr. Gunderson comes from. Troy Gunderson, actually, 8 percentage points was taking points over there, but I think it was Deborah Kerr. You got Sheila Briggs. I think that it was taking votes from probably Underly. I'm not so sure, or it was taking votes from Deborah Kerr. But take a look at Tony Evers. Guys, Tony Evers carried 2 counties. Waukesha and Washington. No, Ozaki right here. He won a Wow County, guys. We're used to seeing a very weak and very complacent Tony Evers in gubernatorial races. He wins the typical Democrat counties. Tony Evers was very strong, very liked. Almost 70%. He almost carried 70% of Wisconsin. He couldn't carry these 2 Wow counties. But yes, he's very popular. He was the former superintendent of public instruction. That was his main bio in 2018. When he ran in 2017, April 2013. Yep, still had a grip there. 2009. Okay, Tony Evers. Yeah, he couldn't carry the Wow counties, but he basically carried everywhere else. You get what I'm saying. 2005. So supposedly, I'm not so sure. Elizabeth Burmeister. I'm not so sure who she is, what she represents, but if she's a Democrat, then Democrats held the superintendent's office as long as I have been alive. That's ridiculous. So it's very unlikely, I would expect, that we have to see how that race turns out, but I expect Underly to win. But the good news is Republicans are making the narrative that, you know what, we're the party of education. Because Democrats have run our schools to the ground. Kids are becoming dumber. been smarter. Kids are actually failing in school. And Wisconsin has a lot of those kids. Wisconsin, especially in the Milwaukee Metro and Waukesha County, the Wild Counties, those kids are failing. Parents, they're the ones that help deliver these elections. They tend to vote Democrat for the superintendent. But now it might be different. They're realizing that, you know what? Democrats have become complacent with the education. Maybe we should give Republicans a chance, because Republicans, we bashed the Democrats when it came to their COVID-19 lockdowns, how that affected kids mentally and socially. They were at home instead of at school, which I am a huge believer in in-person learning, because sitting in front of a screen at 6 hours a day, you think that's going to affect you mentally? It absolutely will, because obviously science has proved already that screens and the radiation is really bad for your mental health. Sitting in the screen for 7 hours a day, and not to mention knowing how kids are these days, an additional 4 to 5 to 6 hours afterwards, that's like 11, 12 hours on the screen every day. That's why kids are so bad today with their education. Kids need to go back to school. Kids need to be social. And ultimately, kids need to learn. Teachers need to stop their woke garbage and actually talk. Actually read the curriculum and talk and meet with the students if they're struggling. And actually say, hey, Jimmy, you did bad on your test. Don't walk away, Jimmy. Come back, Jimmy. You're better than this. Jimmy, you need to study more. I did, Mrs. So-and-so. I don't care. You need to study more. That's what a good teacher does. You push the student to his limit. You learn that limit, you learn that boundary, you push it to that boundary. That's what a good teacher does. And today, we have less teachers that actually know how. Oh, we need to form a good relationship with the students. You're not a neighbor. You're a teacher. And I'm so against teachers getting paid more. Because do you really think they deserve it? They don't. Because our kids are getting dumber and less smarter. They're failing. And on top of that, they're coming home learning that there's 60 genders. They don't deserve a pay raise if they're going to do that. Don't argue me. They have yet to prove it. So obviously, if Republicans utilize these arguments, and they are, thank goodness they've utilized it since 2020, we should hopefully see some progress. And I would love to see it. But ultimately, polls have not come out for this race. And it would be very unprecedented if the conservative, whoever that may be, it might be likely, very likely, will be Jeff Wright. I will guarantee you that. He will be winning that nomination tomorrow for the conservative slot. I doubt you that Jeff Wright will actually become the superintendent, though. I really doubt it, unless there is a movement of parents, a movement of like Elon Musk. He funds money in this race. He gets parents out voting. Then I think Jeff Wright has a chance. But you know what? It's too early to actually see for this. It looks like Elon Musk is actually more focused on the Supreme Court seat. He is aware of that. I think Republicans in Washington are aware of the superintendent seat. I mean, the governor of Wisconsin came from this superintendent of public instruction. So it's not like he just popped into the mansion out of nowhere. So we do know this race exists. But I think we're just waiting for that nominee. We're waiting for the candidates. And obviously, when we got Jeff Wright as the conservative nominee, and obviously Underly as the liberal nominee, it will be a race between Wright and Underly for sure. Then guess what? I think we'll have more endorsements. But what do you guys think in regards to this very long video in Wisconsin, let me know down below. And as always, I'll see you all in the next political episode.